Okie dokie. Moving on. We're well into red wine territory now, mate.
We are.
Where are we heading now? We've done a couple stops at the Yarra Valley. Where are we off to?
We're off to McLaren Vale, or sort of via the Adelaide Hills.
Yeah.
Particularly special wine.
Yeah.
That we've pulled out here. So this is the 2020 Ochota Barrels Fugazi Grenache. So this is a bit of a landmark wine in Australia. Sort of set a new tone for a new generation of, I guess, like an entirely new winemaking movement.
Yeah.
And a stylistic shift in the way that people make Grenache in this country. It also happens to be, I think this is the last Fugazi Grenache made by Taras Ochota.
Yeah. So sadly, Taras Ochota, the winemaker and owner of Ochota Barrels, passed away late 2020. A much loved figure in Australian wine, just an incredible guy. And this was the last of this wine that he made, and this being, maybe the wine he's best known for. So good call opening up this vintage, mate. I think it's really special. So, Ochota Barrels, just such a great story. So Taras had a winemaking background at bigger, more corporate winemaking companies. And he'd made wine in Italy, in the USA. He made wine for a company in Scandinavia that made just like millions of litres.
Yeah, right? Huge, like corporate.
Just the opposite of this.
I know.
And he made wine there. And then I don't quite know the order of events, but he came to Australia. He met his wife, Amber, and they both love travelling, love surfing, love winemaking. It came out. And so they travelled around making wine in different parts of the world. Came back to Australia, started a family, settled down in just the most beautiful little pocket of the Adelaide Hills, where their home and winery is. And from there, I think many of you would know the Ochota Barrels story or the impact they've had on Australian wine, right? The term natural wine gets thrown around a lot in the wine world. I think it's a very confusing topic, very grey area. But Ochota Barrels was one of the early landmark producers in this natural kind of wine scene, but making wines that, sure, they were, organically farmed, God forbid, and made with minimal, additions, intervention, but they were just so delicious and clean and pure. Yep. And if I look at Ochota Barrels compared to a lot of other natural wines, there's always stood head and shoulders above because the wines, first and foremost, were delicious. And I think Taras's background in winemaking in a big corporate setting and his obsession with the wines being clean, you see it in the wines I've never tasted a bad Ochota Barrels wine.
No.
Ever.
No.
Ever. Not a single wine that's ever been at any point faulty or wobbly or anything. The wines are gorgeous. And that's why he's managed to transcend this natural wine world and be so loved by all lovers of wine. Yeah. Because the wines are just unique and characterful, but they're delicious. And he was a real character, like just one of the best guys. I believe we met him for the first time probably at Rootstock in Sydney a decade ago. And just so much fun, but so interested and respectful and keen to meet people. And the wines are just remarkable.
I am so stoked, Tom. That looks amazing. Have you tasted this yet?
I'm always scared to taste it.
Dude,
it makes me emotional thinking of Taras. I wasn't great friends with Taras, but we knew Taras, we worked closely with Taras and Amber and got, that was a great pleasure. But it was just it really struck a chord with everyone, when he passed away, because I think his impact on everyone in the Australian wine industry was so big.
Yeah.
It really moved a lot of people, and he was so courageous and did it with this Aussie kind of larrikin charm and gusto and sense of humor, and it was just the best. And I'm so glad that Amber's continuing to carry on the wines, and she's doing just an incredible job, and the wines have never looked better, and lots of help from the community around them as well. It's just such a special producer. The wines are hard to get every year. You can understand why. Very sought after, and this is just such a special bottling.
So this is bottle number 5065 of 5,925 bottles. As far as I can tell, I think that's probably the last bottle in the country or in the universe that exists of that wine. It looks amazing. So this is 12.7% alcohol, which so first vintage of Fugazi I think is 2010, I believe, something like that, 9, 10, somewhere around there.
Around there.
But it was a dramatic like shift in direction for how people would approach. And today it's kind of like
I'm going in. Yeah. I'm going in.
Do it.
I'm ready to taste.
Do it. On how people would approach making a particularly McLaren Vale Grenache, but like all sorts of Australian Grenache. It's really set a new model for it. So lower in alcohol, picking on freshness, looking at it more as in like a Nebbiolo-esque, which is why it's kind of a really great progression from Luke's to this. Looking at it in a more of a freshness kind of context. So this comes from a vineyard in Blewitt Springs, planted in 1947. It's organically farmed. It's on the Onkaparinga Ranges, basically. So like higher up in the Blewitt Springs kind of sub-region of the hills.
Important just to very briefly touch on Blewitt Springs, because you think McLaren Vale, a very well-known region. Blewitt Springs, a sub-region within McLaren Vale, as you start going up the hills back towards the Adelaide Hills. And what's happened over millions of years is all these amazing, the sandy soils from the ocean, they're being pushed up the hill. So there's more sand there than there is down closer to the ocean. So you walk through these vineyards and there's sand. And what the sand does is allows the roots to go deeper, of the vines deeper underground, access more nutrients, and you get these incredibly soft, elegant, perfumed wines that have re-established like Grenache in McLaren Vale as just this world-leading style. It's amazing. And he was one of the first.
So just tasting this wine, don't think of like big classic South Australian red wine. This sits more in a Pinot-esque kind of mold, to use that as like a frame of reference.
It's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful. So it has like all this amazing licorice and sort of aniseedy sort of character to it. The fruit has softened out beautifully. So always when on release, this wine always has this real sense of like nervous tension about it. Like the acid.
He sought it, didn't he?
Yeah.
I remember Taras saying he wants the wines to walk this tightrope of ripeness. Like they're just ripe.
Yeah.
But then that kind of tingly, nervous energy in the wines is so exciting.
So people thought he was out of his mind for making Grenache like this, because like for decades in the Barossa or McLaren Vale, where people were picking Grenache, like at 12.5% alcohol, they wouldn't even pick that for rosé. They're like, it's not ripe, bro. Like, you got to leave it. It's a month away. Like we want it 14.5%. We want it big. We want it rich. We want it intense. This is about levity and brightness. And it's so fucking compelling to drink. It's exactly the style of wine that suits Australian drinking culture. Like it's hot as shit here. Who wants to drink 15.5% booze? Like this is the kind of wine we should be drinking.
Yeah, here. Can you imagine when they planted this vineyard in 1947? Right, World War II just finished.
Nuts.
And though at that point, Grenache was being mainly made into fortified wines. And can you imagine the bloke that planted this vineyard? If you could look there now and see, what Taras and Amber have done with this wine and this fruit and the style they've crafted it into. Fugazi, I don't know, did you touch on the name before?
No, I didn't get it.
A classic example of Taras's, personality, sense of humour. So when Taras and Amber first were driving around looking for a vineyard in McLaren Vale to make Grenache, and they came to this site, and Taras was a literal rock star.
Yeah. Punk rock band.
Amazing. And they were listening to the punk rock band Fugazi on the radio or on the CD, and I thought, here you go, Fugazi Grenache.
Bashing bass and making Grenache.
It's such a special wine.
It's the quintessential like kind of rock and roll Australian wine, basically.
Yeah, and from such a special producer. And I mean, Grenache, we talk a lot about Grenache. I think when we look, a generation from now at Australian wine, Grenache is going to be maybe the most important thing that we make here in Australia.
And this is one of the most formative wines in the evolution of that style. And I am so stoked that bottle looks incredible, because I've got one bottle of 2020 186 Grenache. So like the big brother,
which comes from the same site,
same vineyard. Yeah. I've got one bottle left.
Yeah.
I don't know when I'm going to drink that, but it's like that's an incredible all-time wine. But
it's great.
More chuffed at how good
it's magic. So magical producer. You know, we get a little bit of Ochota Barrels wines every year, but the wines are so sought after. What you need to do is you need to go to the Ochota Barrels website, subscribe to their own mailing list, and talk directly to Amber, who's lovely as well, and buy as much of these wines as you can because they're faultless. They're beautiful wines. It's such a great, important chapter in Australian wine from a great bloke who sadly isn't here anymore, but just a pleasure to taste the wines. Wow.
Cheers, man. That's
cheers, bro.
That's
made me a bit emotional.
Yeah,
I can't. Yeah, it's what wine can do. You know, it's why I love wine because it's more than just a drink. You know, it connects you to a place and to people.
Yeah.
Like if you took away the people, I just wouldn't be that interested.
No.
Like it's a lovely drink.
It's a drink, yeah.
Etc. But it's the way that it can connect you to a place and a time and to people that makes it so magical. And you just nothing better demonstrates that than this wine. Awesome.
It's very awesome.
We've got another wine.
We've got one more.
Let's keep going. All right, charge on. Let's go.